I mean, it's going to be really interesting to like see how this industry changes over time because like years ago it was like web was still like a very young industry and
Hmm.
now we're like seeing like new generations of developers and it's like, the interactions between like older and newer developers, like that's a really interesting thing to watch happen like in
Hmm.
real time.
Do you work with long range of that type of developers right now?
Yeah, I mean, there's like a good range of developers like throughout their 20s and 30s that I work with.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm not asking them like how old they are, but like you can just you
Tell.
can see like differences in opinions, differences in mindsets, and it's just fascinating, It's like everyone's still just tied together with like common loves of just engineering and just building stuff, but the way it gets expressed, it's like it's become more and more interesting and varied.
That's pretty interesting. 'Cause do you see any patterns on the newer engineer or junior engineers?
Uh, I mean, it's hard to tell just because it's like every time I ask, like, ask myself, like, are there patterns? It's always like, well, is this just a function of the teams that they've been on? Or
Hmm.
is this like a generational trend? And it's like, it's really, really hard to tell.
Yeah, that's always that's always very hard because like this is the conversation I always had with Betty because like we're seeing some patterns, but we're trying to differentiate if it's a cultural thing or if it's a generation thing or is this the team thing?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's going to become more apparent in the future, like when younger developers start getting like wider ranges of experience over time and become way more senior and are able to talk about their different types of experiences and bring
Yeah.
different perspectives. I mean, because right now they've got very interesting like viewpoints, but how's that going to change by like the mid 2030s,
What it did you reflect that with your own self and see like how your perspective changed?
I mean, I have occasionally just like thought about like how my approach to just building things has changed over time
Hmm.
because it goes like hand in hand with like the journey up the stack and just like learning more and more about different systems and infrastructure
Hmm.
because it's like like just looking back on how I approached building things 10 years ago is so foundationally different from
Right.
how I would approach it today, and I'm like, if I'd had myself as a mentor back then, like, what direction would I have even gone in? It's
Yeah. Do
really
you
interesting to ask yourself that.
Yeah, because ask myself this a lot too, but, like, do you think that's the normally the technology that changed or the platform or whatever the tools that you use changed versus what I'm trying to say is, like, how much of that is on tooling and then system and all the things that you use versus you yourself has
I
changed?
honestly, I think it is way more about the individual than the tools
Right.
because, like, just look at the difference in tooling now compared to like a decade ago. It's like taking AI out of the equation.
Right.
Like, it's like, I mean, that's just a sea change for everyone. And it's like, if that had existed back then, like we'd all be having very different discussions now.
Right.
But like the way that you fundamentally approach like design
Mhm.
and implementation, like, yeah, you can use AI to streamline parts of it, to speed up parts of it, but you have to have a plan going into it. Like AI is not going to tell you how to design infrastructure, and if it does, and that's what's just what you're implementing, like, good luck. Best of luck. I hope you have a really, really solid model behind that.
Stay tuned for the next episode on Monday afternoon.